could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't.
Hello and welcome to the Smite Draft League. We've got Week 5 Immortal Division. In front of us today, we've got Oathkeepers versus Wild Inferno. I'm Anthony Malum. I'm looking for an exciting game in a Wild Inferno, and I have CosmicVibez with me. And what are you looking for, Cosmic?
You know, I'm just looking. I've been saying this about a lot of the games have been going on recently. Is just how teams are adapting to the differences that have been come out. I mean, extremely big patches recently. Obviously, going from season 9 to season 10, but again coming into the season hope. So many changes have come through, and it's really pivotal to just understand the differences and knowing just keeping up with the meta despite how big of a change the game might be going through.
I think these are two fascinating teams to watch with that mindset in front of us, because you've got Wild Inferno, who, much to my chagrin, but you can't deny the results, have had a incredibly controlled and calm season with games that tend to go longer with less kills, but where they tend to win pretty decisively. And then with Oathkeepers, you've got a similar story, but more of a late blooming, where at the start of the season, they kind of just didn't seem like they were meshing. But the further and further we get into the season, they're getting nasty, and they're getting nasty quick. But for the overarching point is it's two teams that have stuck together the whole season, and they play like it.
That they do, and there's definitely numerous benefits that comes from playing sticking together as a team and just adapting off each other's play styles and growing just collectively as a team as opposed to individually. But let's kick us off here as we have Hercules being first picked. Hercules is definitely one that's been very strong lately. He was really strong in season 10, and now in the season of Hope, he has just been getting stronger. Obviously, all of the healers have been changed. Herc is no different. Obviously, reduced healing on his 3, but reduced cooldowns on his 1, changes to his 2 as well, making him a very strong laner, to say the least.
Yeah, Hercules has been fascinating to watch, and Hades has been incredibly dangerous to watch in the solo lane. The pure damage output that's coming from Hades and the hype on mage solo laners in general has been crazy. With the Merlin and the Nox, I mean, we all know how much Red Wings likes to play that. Merlin, so I expect Nox support here, which means you've already got 3 mages committed to your comp. So the strategy is it's locked in here for Wild Inferno.
Certainly is when both of my support or both my tanks frontliners are mages in my ranked game. I'm a little tilted, but looking at this, I mean, Hades Nox. I mean, come on. Hades, obviously insane solo laner. The itemizations, Doom Orb, some of the mage items, just very strong for him. When you think about it, you would think, oh, Bancross claws, like what made him really good. But just strong mage items in general make him a big menace to deal with in lane, even with some of his reduced healing. His wave clear is just super strong. His sustain is insane, and his team fight capability is also insane. Now we need to look at the other side. We see Terra. Terra's a pick I love to see. Some I feel like we haven't seen quite as much of, but with the recent changes to her providing protections as well as just flat out mitigations, making her team much stronger on these team fights. Obviously, again, that is coupled by reduced healing, but I think it's just overall better because you can't reduce mitigations and protections with anti heal. So it's definitely makes her a little bit less counterable and stronger overall.
Yeah, the mitigations change. I mean, as Genetics pointed out, kind of had, and I mentioned this in Godlike, it had the Reddit slumlords kind of in a panic over the idea of removing that healing. But the mitigation ultimately is the value is not even comparable. And I expect in the middle division here with Immortal, I think that's where we're going to see it get the most value because, and granted, I know when I say this, I'm referring to a set with Wild Inferno in it. Immortal likes to fight, and sometimes they have problems pushing objectives. So with the Terra offering that mitigation, you're definitely going to encourage your team to not be afraid to take that fight. And as we look at the picks and bans, I want to hear your thoughts on it. That concerns me for Wild Inferno just in a general playstyle format. Because if Wild Inferno kind of gets caught sleeping during a Fire Giant dance, we could look to see Oathkeepers take their team fighting and really force the issue.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it, and Baba Yaga really accentuates that. We've seen Baba Yaga getting played considerably, even on the SPL level. You know, people like Paul have been playing him, doing lots of damage. And speaking of Paul, the Hebo being locked in, presumably going into the jungle, given Baba Yaga's definitely a mid lane pick. Hebo jungle has been extremely insane. Just he's been a permaban practically in every ranked game ever since season 10, and he's just so powerful. I think it's going to be a great pick here. Getting it last, or no, not last, second to last, just in the last group of picks. Something very valuable. You can really counter pick them. Obviously, you know, into Dashi, not the best, just since you can't knock her up when she's slicing and dicing you. But Jing Wei, rounding out the draft, one of the best hunters right now, in my opinion. Crit being super strong. The itemization's very much in her favor, but we see now ThockManJones on the Rama, definitely one that can match that pressure that late game damage that Xing Wei puts out. And that is also coupled by just a little bit better early game that I think Rama has over Xing Wei. That's kind of always been the issue with Xing Wei. She doesn't have great lane pressure, but she's usually just not dying because she's a really safe god and is able to get to late game. So we'll see how that matchup ends up.
Certainly, and that's not even beginning to mention the unique build path you can go with the Hydra's build currently on Jingwei. But we've got heavyweight matchups across the board. Look at a lane, you'll find a great matchup. These two Immortal teams could be two teams that we see in a couple weeks in the finals, but we got to get through the regular season first. So we'll be right back with game number 1 between Oathkeepers and Wild Inferno.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it, but now you're gone. Baby, you're a ghost. I'm caught up in a landslide, mental on the low end. When I used to feel alive, now there's a hole in the city, can't feel shit. Where do I go? Cause I know you don't feel this. Can't catch a break for God's sakes. Feel like I'm waking up and I'm caught in the wake. Yeah, I know this is my funeral on parade. I did it to myself cause I always thought you would feel the same, and I know you don't. Drunk off the lights of a city, late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. Let's hit the brakes. I'm pulling out the parachute, jumping out the plane. You had it all in front of you, nothing feels the same. It's crazy what love can do, even crazier when it's not coming back to you. You say you need space, so I gave you all the states. Every night a different place.
We got Oathkeepers, we have Wild Inferno. I'm Anthony Malum, he's CosmicVibez. Let's do it!
It does seem like the people have realized that the start where the solo and mid pull these camps together, and the jungle gets both of the speed buffs, which puts them in a little bit of a better position here. Puts all of them at level 2, which is sort of more like how we saw immediately in Season 10 when we were first introduced to the leashing of the camps, pulling them, unleashing rather. But it does look like Inferno ends up getting to the lane considerably quicker. Just not too much that they gain by it, as they just simply back off center tower.
Watching the starts come online, I think, has been the most fascinating part of both Season 10 and Season of Hope, because it's weird that they've been so different, but I think it does at least innovate and give us some variety to watch. Laning phase pretty calm between these two teams. Again, the storyline to look for here is to see if Oathkeepers can force Wild Inferno to play off of their own pace, and Wild Inferno's game plan may be to continue playing at their pace. And what I'm curious about the most is who's going to win in controlling the pace.
I think, it I was gonna say it depends on the pace of the game, but I think
Just want to say pace more.
there are certain matchups that favor different time periods. I think Jingwei and Rama is just going to be better in the early game, and at the same time, I don't think he's that much worse in the late game. Obviously, Rama just being a hunter, being able to left click, and of course, the left clicks being boosted by his abilities, he's going to be able to supplement it extremely well. We see a bit of a grouping here on the left side, but they're just going to secure that buff as opposed to doing a gank as, just because he's Rama, just pushing them under tower by his incredible wave clear, which is something that Jingwei just kind of lacks.
Yeah, especially for the first few levels. Once Jingwei can get some items online, especially with the current builds, it's a bit more of a competition. But yeah, like you said, early on, those astral strikes, it's not even a contest. All you can kind of do is go to back up. Plus, you've got the Nox over there, which isn't helping things either.
Yeah, decent damage to the wave, which I mean, obviously, just don't really need. But being able to just lock down the Jingwei, who thrives on mobility and just being able to stay alive. Solid matchup here. I think Nox is just a great pick. It's hard to go wrong with. Weirdly enough, it's weird to say that about kind of like an off pick. It's just hardly an off pick at this point. If you're just landing your combos as Nox, you're gonna be just good off. Your team's gonna be doing just fine. The lockdown is incredible. The just preventing of ability super strong. I think silence is kind of an underrated mechanic, just underrated CC. Preventing key abilities in a fight can be absolutely detrimental for the opposing team.
So I know you've played a lot of Hebo. If you're the Hebo here, what's your game plan in trying to play around this Daji? Daji is a very strong pick into Hebo, both playing off the knockups, being able to get away from crushing wave. You can keep up with the Hebo. It's kind of an awkward dance, but I'm curious after this fight to hear your thoughts on it. Fish going to go aggressive on the Perspective Duck, but the police were around the corner. Beads comes out from the Duck to get away from the powwow. And everyone on Oathkeepers is safe, and Wild Inferno's looking to just back up and secure the shield buff. We'll see if Oathkeepers can force the first issue of the game. They've run into Nishi, and now they take the aggro at the shield buff. And Perspective Duck dashes in, and Wild Inferno looks to finally be backing away, and it will be a shield for the Oathkeepers.
To answer your question, I don't think it's the worst matchup ever. Against the Daji Hebo, obviously she's going to immune the knockup, which is an incredibly strong CC, but it doesn't immune the damage. And that's the thing. Hebo just pumps out damage at every stage of the game. The combos, the very low cooldown on the water cannon, water spout also doing a ton of damage. Oof, we see the
Pillars of Agony. There's the blink from Fish. HeavyWarcrier gets a solo kill on Physics. Can Fish get the response kill, or will HeavyWarcrier live up to the namesake? Low on mana, low on health, got nothing but a dream, but Fish was cut off and could not catch up to HeavyWarcrier. And with Akamaru around the corner, that's enough for LDGFish to just walk away. HeavyWarcrier gets the kill and gets out.
Yeah, also gets that ultimate down from Physics, which is definitely something you're just afraid of when you're laning against a Hades. So at any point, if he's dropping it down, if you don't have your dash, you're like afraid to use your dash as wave clear. Obviously now, HeavyWarcrier having that golden blade, being able to just drop down at 2, group up all the minions, and auto mod down is very nice. And I'm interested to see how he decides to build this. If he's going to go, I can't quite remember the full name of the new item. Things like vital restoration or something like that. The one that increases your attack speed with the
Oh,
heals.
Vital Amplifier.
Amplifier. Something. Okay, I knew the vital part. Yeah,
Anytime.
definitely an option. I've seen someone. Thank you, Mr. Chair 2 Analyzer. Oh wait. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I've actually
Little
seen it be
role
really
reversal.
nasty on Chiron too.
Yeah, I've actually heard of that one on like Twitter and stuff. Just because, I mean, the bonus damage it gives you, it's obviously attack speed, very very strong. So looking forward to see how they itemize.
Shield buff contest goes the way of Perspective Duck, gonna get that shield away. HeavyWarcrier catching physics pretty low, and ultimate's up for HeavyWarcrier, but the dash gonna be up, or gonna go down without getting a hit, rather. And physics will trot away safely. CosmicVibez heading over to the soul lane, peeking around, just saying hello. Gonna head on out of there, however.
Yeah, it's tough to gank Hades. I mean, just being if they have their dash out, if they're fighting in a wave, normally you think it's like bad that they're fighting for a wave, but just the incredible amount of heals that Hades gets for it ends up being in the favor of the Hades ultimate damage reduction. I mean, Hades is Hades is basically what I'm saying. It's rough time, not easy. Maybe should put a little bit of your focus elsewhere.
Yeah, I feel like Hercules can also kind of survive on the island there. As we've seen this season slowly progress here in week 5, I've noticed that Hercules, while he gets pressured out in that initial laning phase, can actually stand with Hades pretty well, which is a huge plus to be able to not to worry about that big purple guy over there. Perspective Duck, gonna have to back quickly. Got a gank coming out from the support in the form of Nox. Gonna dash in, but there's the airstrike from Perspective Duck to get away. No kill there. Solo side, Powwow comes out from Fish, finds HeavyWarcrier and CosmicVibez. They're both going to get brought into Physics. Dakamaru's here to try to get them away. And Wild Inferno not going to force the issue, again, playing to their style, and they're going to let Oathkeepers out of there.
LTG had a nice double pull and felt like there's a bit of a lack of response on him. Physics had the ultimate. I mean, they were both pulled in. If they were going to beat something, would have been that. Oh my lord, but he gets exploded when they go for this red invade.
8 minutes, not normally the time you see someone get 100 to 0'd like that, but so long and a kill for the Hebo. Certainly what you want to see if you're an Oathkeepers fan is getting that Hebo online and getting it done early. Speed buff invade to go alongside it, so some thieves there on the side of Oathkeepers.
Certainly, and I love this playstyle. It's one we've seen be extremely dominant even in high level SPLs. Just the bread and butter of what the Oni Warriors did to get him that victory in the tournament. Playing gods like Hebo and just going in, invading reds, and just fighting all the time, taking every opportunity that you can find, and just running away with it. So I love to see that out of Oathkeepers.
As do I, and also credit to you because I saw you bragging on Twitter that you were an OG and you were right all along with the Oni Warriors. So I'll give you your moment in the sun about that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and make sure to call out the OG haters as well for that. But enough about that, because we're talking about the SDL here.
Let's talk about SDL. Let's talk about casters, because our caster predictions have been pretty on point in comparison to the SPL casters' predictions for the early stuff. So credit to us for really knowing our home fans.
Certainly. Ooh, Nishi.
Getting caught out a bit, gets rooted, but
pretty tanky though.
Yeah, that's a pretty tanky Nox. Not gonna kill that very easy. Perspective Duck dropping low pretty quick. Mr. Jones has himself some snipes up, and here come the snipes, but the airstrike away will buy the time needed for Perspective Duck, and on the dash he'll be safe as well. So no kill there for the Rama. Perspective Duck getting away.
Yeah, that's just exactly what I mentioned about Xingwei in the picks and bans and early on. It's just so safe with the ultimate. Even earlier when Nox tried to do it, which I think is a big thorn in the side of Xingwei, who loves to utilize his dash. Just such safety in it. It doesn't really matter. Just not dying as long as you're not too far overextended, and a very uncontested Gold Fury.
Very early too, very out of
Yes.
nowhere from Oathkeepers. And we talked about the pace being our main storyline. I love that from Oathkeepers. Forcing the issue there, we saw them kind of dare Jones to go in and try to steal it. Ultimately did not. That's going to be some nice golden pocket for Oathkeepers. That was not okay.
Dude, I thought they nerfed healing now. What is that?
That was wild.
I mean, that, yeah.
I wonder if he popped the shard. No, because the shard's not on cooldown.
No, it ain't.
That's upsetting.
I'm not. If I'm on Wild Inferno's team and I saw Physics just giving up that totem so easily, I'm kind of molding because I think totem's really important, and I definitely notice, at least earlier on, when my solo laner doesn't get it, and it's important.
Another sneaky objective there from Oathkeepers. They're going to get the
faster.
Pyromancer too at 11 minutes, so really locking down the early objectives here. Well done from Oathkeepers, trying to keep Wild Inferno guessing at this point on where they're going to go in the map, and now they've got full control over the big objectives. And with that, we have a pause coming out, so we will be right back in the Smite Draft League. Do not go anywhere.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it, but now.
Hello and welcome back. Guarantee you didn't miss much, but we sure did miss you. Still 2-0, Oathkeepers, Wild Inferno, and we're all set to go. So with the early objectives here getting forced out by Oathkeepers, Wild Inferno is slowly but surely getting forced off of their slow pace. So if you're Wild Inferno, how do you respond to just being outpaced by the opposing team?
I mean, there's obviously not much you can do objective-wise now with both of the only viable objectives at this point being completely gone. That doesn't mean you're not risking losing anything if you want to go for, a grouping that might not end quite as well. But obviously, the hopes of that is that you make up some of that lost ground and find a few picks here. It might be exactly what we're seeing here on the left side. 3-man grouping coming out with fourth one walking away at this stage. But I mean, yeah, it's just Wild Inferno just never really quite where they need to be like in time period. It seems like they're just late to places when they're, whether it's obviously these objectives or even just going for ganks. I mean, it's 13 minutes in, they have 0 kills, letting Oathkeepers stagger up a fairly significant 3k gold advantage for them, and now Oathkeepers getting a little more active.
They do run into a wild Nishi. We mentioned the tankiness from the low-nose mask, not going to stop them from going for it. And look at the damage from Crushing Wave. Doesn't care about the low-nose mask.
Oh.
Nishi still alive in the corner, and Fish goes up to the powwow, finds a landing onto Akamaru. Going to pull in the Hebo, but Hebo's going to be safe because, again, no follow-up on the pull from LDGFish. It's the second time we've seen that happen. Dual lane side a bit of a 1v1 potential here from Duck and Jones. Duck could play it risky, but with Fish lurking, Duck will luckily walk away despite the lack of wards to even know that there was a Dachi lurking.
Yep, now he's completely gone, so they can recouple that fight if they want. Honestly, the only reason that Nishi lived there was because he was able to hit Akamaru with his ultimate, reducing his damage by, I believe, 40%. He lived on pretty much 1 HP. So, yeah, if he had not have hit that, there was no doubt in my mind that he would be dead there, making this game just last a little bit longer, not letting him get quite as far ahead. Now Akamaru wants to take advantage of this lead that they've garnered for themselves. Doesn't look like he's pushing too hard. Still doesn't want to
They run
get
into a
punished.
Nishi yet again.
Mm.
The Nox gets a dash away, but with the positioning that Oathkeepers has, and with how they've been playing aggressive, I would love to see them pull this Oni Fury. Will it happen is certainly a different story. A lot of deep wards from Wild Inferno, so they will know if it's happening. So we're going to get a group by the objective, and again, this is what we're looking for. I want Oathkeepers to force the issue here. If they do, that's where their advantage comes from. Perspective Duck, drop it a bit low. There's the blink from Akamaru. Up into the air goes Mr. Jones, but doesn't find any hits because, again, Perspective Duck dashes it out. Nox tosses the big ball, finds some okay damage reduction on CosmicVibez, but nothing else. HeavyWarcrier on the rotation finds a kill onto the Rama. That's an ADC gone for Wild Inferno, and Oathkeepers is pushing it in, and Nishi's getting pulled back, and Nishi's gone. Double kill for HeavyWarcrier. Oathkeepers going to get the tower on the way out, but now they've got the exact opening they needed to take this objective.
Beautiful rotation there out of Warcry. That's why I can never be a solo laner, man. You think I'm walking all the way over there from solo lane? Absolutely not. I'm staying there. I'm clearing my wave. But Warcry is showing the value of it. Man, that's some low health bars. Physics and an opportunity here.
Pops the beads a bit late, does go in. Can he find him in time? Finds Pillar of Agony, but gets deleted by Perspective Duck before he can get a kill with the Pillars of Agony. Now, the Oni Fury's back on tap for Oathkeepers, and now, for sure, it's going to be clean and free. Red Wings did not get there in time, and Oathkeepers has themselves an Oni Fury.
Seems like Physics hesitated for just a second too long there. Was forced to beats before engaging, but at that point, it was just a little bit too late. Not able to secure the kills on anybody. Walks away without an ult, without beats, without kills, and the Gold Fury going to the way of Oathkeepers. Not looking good for Wild Inferno, but I mean, this is exactly what you had said, that you want Oathkeepers to, just be in control of this game, force them into situations that they maybe don't want to be in, and just sort of outplay them on the macro level.
That is what I wanted to see, and that's what we're seeing so far. I want to see Oathkeepers keep it up. There's no reason to stop the pace at this point. You've got the feel advantage. You got a level 16 Hercules you can play around. So, I mean, keep it going. You got Heba level 15. You've got a Pyro Bomb on tap. Why not go a bit crazy with it and make it happen? I did want to point out, because we all know the complaints from Mr. Warcrier. You bought 2 wards and you placed them down. So there's your credit for the wards. Keep it up.
You do want more than 2 wards, I would say.
Yeah, but if we didn't mention the wards, I think we would have heard it after the lack of wards from the Warcrier himself. He does peek around for Nishi, does not quite find the pull-in, but look at Pyromancer. It's getting pulled by Oathkeepers. We'll see if this starts off another fight. They have the advantage of Perspective Duck being here. Jones is going to push the tier 1 tower. Oathkeepers did let the Pyromancer go, so they're going to look for a pick, but Inferno is just backing up. So if they're going to back up that far, if I'm Oathkeepers, I'm pulling the Pyro again and again and again until I just have it at this rate. That is the strat. Physics gets pulled back. Nishi couldn't get the steal. Dropped it early, so just damage reduction. Fish up into the powwow. Going to find CosmicVibez. And going to bring in the Terror. There's a Pillar of Agony combo. Somebody followed up the powwow finally. And Nishi finds a kill into CosmicVibez. Fish dies to Perspective Duck, however. And health bar advantage is leaning Oathkeepers. Blink in from Akamaru. Goodbye, Hades. Nishi now caught out and falls down to Slim the Rebel. Everybody's getting a kill. HeavyWarcrier gets this one with a boulder. And Oathkeepers is making it happen. And that's going to be a Pyromancer on top of it.
Absolutely clinical performance there by Oathkeepers.
Come on. I give you the credit for the wards, and then you don't pick up the bomb. Whatever. They're going to go to Fire Giant and get that for free as well.
Wow, yeah, man. Really, really... I mean, Perspective Duck just sat there getting that Pyromancer. Meanwhile, Warcry is just in the background, throwing around their back line. Fortunately, Cosmic does end up dying in that fight, but back well in time to get the Fire Giant buff for himself. And I mean, that was just great performance. HeavyWarcrier zoning beautifully, and then when it was time to go, pulls him back in into the damage. Akamaru blinks back in there, pumping out damage, just doing Hebo things. It picks off LGG very early on, and then just finishing some all off. Again, very, very clinical performance there by Oathkeepers. And I mean, 9-1. It is very much in favor of Oathkeepers right now.
And it's not even just the 9-1. It's not just the gold.
No.
It's not just the experience, but the player damage is really telling. Look at the blue just jumping to the top, the red falling behind aside from Physics, and Physics actually going to die to Perspective Duck after the dash in. Physics is screaming, "Why is Jingwei here?" And Jingwei is screaming, "Hey, I got Hades out. Let's make a fight happen." Meanwhile, in duo lane, look who's over there. It's HeavyWarcrier giving Jones trouble.
Yeah, I think Perspective Duck is playing Xingwei in a way I really like to see. You know, you get so much out of, you know, your own knockup and your dash going through that doing that aggressively, like obviously you need to be smart about it. You can't just put yourselves in a horrible position, but I mean, you still have the safety from your ult. And I think just getting a little aggressive when you can get away with it is the most effective way to play Xingwei, and Perspective Duck is doing that extremely well.
I guess they're just gonna let HeavyWarcrier have most of this tier 2 for free.
All of it, yeah. I mean,
okay,
why not? Dude?
No big deal, I guess. That's a tower for HeavyWarcrier and the Hercules. Oathkeepers grouped up in mid, and they've got a bomb on Akamaru, so they could look to push this tier 2 in or save it for the Phoenix. And with how fast Phoenix is dropping, I don't think they need the bomb for it. They're going to save that for the Phoenix. But now all the towers are gone for Wild Inferno, and they've only got 1 kill to their name and no objectives so far. So Wild Inferno just cannot keep up with Oathkeepers.
Yeah, it's just really, really rough at this point. I mean, with Hades, you kind of rely on just getting a little bit ahead in the early game when it comes to the wave clear and just rotations. But we just didn't see that out of Physics. I think HeavyWarcrier was doing a great job. I think it's actually a pretty favorable matchup for Hercules. Surprisingly, you have safety from the ultimate from just in the form of a dash, and you know your wave clear as soon as you get Golden Blade online is pretty solid. So. And I mean, HeavyWarcrier is clearly just a very solid Hercules. Hitting them pulls, hitting them pushes is just the absolute bread and butter of a Hercules player.
Everything's clicking for Oathkeepers in terms of their character selections. Their Fire Giant just wore out. Pyromancer's respawning, so should look for them to force it here and prepare for that Fire Giant, and then probably look to push out the Phoenix. I guess they're saving the bombs for the Phoenix push with the Fire Giant, so it could work out. HeavyWarcrier is very deep in there, making sure they can get that Pyromancer, and they're going to get it. Warcrier will get away from the Nox combo and be safe. So Oathkeeper is just going unmatched. Wild Inferno, we've seen when their playstyle can work when they played against Sanctified, but I think we're seeing where this playstyle really can falter against Oathkeepers.
Yeah, they definitely have met their match here, to say the least. I mean, yeah, I don't want to talk about one person, but Warcar just walking around 4 people, not caring, just zooming around.
Yeah, just vibing around up there.
There's a little shield of regrowth, cheeky little thing, giving him lots of extra movement speed. Now we're seeing, oh my, that was one shot on a freaking Lono's Mask Nox with Cloak and Thebes. Obviously Thebes not fully stacked quite yet, but big chunks coming the way of Perspective Duck, and just doesn't feel good if you're getting slapped in the face like that if you're Nishi.
Not at all. The Duck certainly trying to give Wild Inferno a new perspective. Fire Giant getting pulled, already down to half health. Snipes will come out from Jones, but they came out a bit early, and Oathkeeper saw it coming. They let go of the Fire Giant, and now they're going to look for the fight. Nishi's very cut off inside of Physics, and now they're both dropping low. Physics does find a kill onto Slim. Perspective Duck drops the Nox and is looking for more, and with the range of those autos, gets a big damage off, but that's going to set the kill for Akamaru. Double kill for Perspective Duck, and Oathkeepers didn't even need the Fire Giant for the bait. They just had to walk at Wild Inferno, and they find the damage. So now Oathkeepers set up nice for a Fire Giant. They do not have Slim on the Baba Yaga, however, so if they get it here, will not go on Slim. They don't seem to mind. Physics waiting around the corner, going to look for a steal, and they don't know he's there, so he's got all the time in the world. Just has to time it right. Here's a blink in from Physics, but he gets knocked up, and Perspective Duck drops Physics and picks up the Fire Giant.
Oh, I don't even think Perspective Duck was trying to knock him up there. I think he just placed that down to help burn the Fire Giant, and Physics blinked right into it. That gives me flashbacks to one time I like flopped over the Fire Giant pit and landed on one of the knockups that the Fire Giant sends out himself. So just very, very unfortunate timing for something that could have been a very cheeky steal. Ends in a very, very, I mean, there's no other way to say that, but unlucky.
Yeah, that is the definition of bad luck in Smite. Oathkeepers is just playing a perfect game so far. I mean, they've got 2 deaths. You can't really beat that. It's plain and simple.
Certainly do. I think Cosmic and Slim should be kicked for feeding in this game. I'm just kidding, of course. Now, Oathkeepers taking the opportunity with their Fire Giant buffs. Only 4 members, as you had mentioned. Slim wasn't quite able to get that Fire Giant buff, and now they're looking towards the Phoenix. But might be just a minute before we see exactly what happens in this Phoenix Siege. We're still the Smite Draft League. We got a very short pause coming through. You're not going to miss much. Don't go anywhere.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't.
We're back. We're here. Cannot say the same for the Phoenix. It drops down to Oathkeepers, and now they're going to head to mid and look to do more of the same. Wild Inferno just hanging back. Certainly do not have an easy opening here, and it doesn't fit their MO to force the issue. Meanwhile, Oathkeepers love to fight, so we'll see what happens at the mid Phoenix, because HeavyWarcrier is already walking at it. Oathkeepers not quite backing up at Hercules just yet. There's the damage reduction, so Oathkeepers will probably just wait that out. Phoenix already down to 25% despite the damage reduction, so down an ultimate now if you're Wild Inferno. Not what you want in this base siege.
Certainly isn't. Fire minions sieging in on the left side as well.
Oh, they're going in. HeavyWarcrier goes in first, dashes back and brings Nishi. Akamaru finds a kill onto Jones. Perspective Duck falls down, double kill for Akamaru. And Akamaru's going all the way deep, but gets stunned out. Cannot chase Nishi all the way down, but turns and sees a Hades. But Hades has Blink, and Oathkeepers, their ankles may be shattered, but they're still in the throne room, and they still want the Titan. Titan at 75% health, but Oathkeepers realizing this isn't the perfect opportunity. They are going to back up and probably wait for a couple waves instead of trying to force that issue. Dangerous there for Oathkeepers. It was a risky call, but they could have won the fight, but it would have been close.
Certainly would have been, and just not something you really need to risk. Warcry doesn't care, though. I mean, he's
going to heal it up.
Everyone in your throne room. Doesn't care who's fighting against minions.
All right, this would tilt me.
he's not deterred by anything. His whole team's backing off, and he is just preventing any members of Wild Inferno from leaving their base. Now looks like they're going to go over here, secure the Pyromancer, get that bomb up, potentially go for that right side Phoenix if that's what they want to, or just wait until the Fire Giant respawns. It's hard to go wrong right now with any choice that you make if you're Oathkeepers.
Yeah, this game is essentially in the bag, but I will give credit where credit's due with Wild Inferno season. While they do play passive, when they do fight, when they do try to make plays, the plays are good. So Oathkeeper still has to play this right at the Phoenix and during the Titan siege, or they could falter. And if that happens, if you get a deicide out of nowhere, Wild Inferno will run at your Titan. So we saw that when they tried the backdoor Sanctified, and that they had it run back on them. So Wild Inferno not completely out of it, but not looking great either. Oathkeeper steps up as Nishi goes in toward the Fire Giant. He'll get caught out by HeavyWarcrier. Going to use the ultimate in HeavyWarcrier, matter of fact, just in case he needs it. Contagion going to pop as well. Nishi going to escape, but now that's Nox ultimate down yet again. And Oathkeeper sitting pretty for this Fire Giant.
Man, some of those combos just not quite on point for Nishi. Seems like he's not really getting a ton of value out of this Nox pick. Man, Oathkeeper is just being this completely unstoppable force, pushing them way back into their jungle since they just want to take this Fire Giant. It's not going to be easy for Wild Inferno to do something about it.
Not at all. We did see a slight split push come out from Fish. He's still going to go for it and see how far he can push the Phoenix. Wild Inferno going to look to contest the Fire Giant, but they're going to have a tough time getting past HeavyWarcrier on defense. Slim steps away as well because they just need Perspective Duck hitting that Fire Giant to get rid of it. Physix going for it. Fire Giant's at 15%. Physix going to get through and dash in onto the fire. Pillar of Agony. Wild Inferno steals the Fire Giant, but Perspective Duck drops Physix. Big kill for Oathkeepers as the Daji got the Phoenix. So now Oathkeepers has to make a play off of this.
Yeah, I mean, that was just an absolute desperado that worked out in the favor of Wild Inferno, but they still have the numbers advantage. Actually, it looks like HeavyWarcrier deciding to back off, not feeling too confident pushing against the Fire Giant. I don't believe it quite ticked over to enhanced Fire Giant, so at least Oathkeepers have that going for them. But even with this huge advantage that they have, it's going to be hard for Wild Inferno to defend. I think they can do it now that they have Merlin. I mean, okay, they've always had a Merlin, but Merlin with a Fire Giant buff, definitely capable of defending this if they play this right.
We'll see if they can do it. They do have all their Phoenixes up. Oathkeepers allowed the Phoenixes to respawn. They are quite weak, and they do have a bomb, so one Phoenix should be dropped very easy for Oathkeepers. HeavyWarcrier will surely be the initiation. We've seen that all game long. Wild Inferno, fresh off the heels of the Fire Giant steal, they want to do something with it, but they got to get past Oathkeepers. And Oathkeepers, if you look at the damage charts, they've been the only ones doing damage aside from Physix. So Wild Inferno's got a lot to get through. Thankfully, they got the wards to know where they're at across the side. But will they have the damage? Because that's what they're going to need to defend. They almost lost mid-Phoenix, and that's enough for HeavyWarcrier to blink in deep. But he's dropping quick. Oh, there's the Nox ultimate for the damage reduction, and Nishi is very low. Slim the Rebel finds a kill onto Nishi. Jones shuts down Akamaru on the way out. He will get back to the fountain and bring Daji with him, but they do lose two Phoenixes there, so we're back to square one. Wild Inferno, more so with the mistakes, they are staying in this game to their credit.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, getting down two Phoenixes when the enemy team is the one who has the Fire Giant, definitely not the worst thing in the world. You only end up losing one compared to them losing two. Oh, they get the Fury as well. They choked it. They dropped it when they shouldn't have. I think it might have been Rama that ended up stealing that. Just unfortunate objective dropping here from Oathkeepers that really they shouldn't be allowing to happen.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't chase a little bit more from that fight. They chose to back up. I guess they want to defend the fire waves, but you have Oni waves to push out for a bit. So a big steal, but I would have liked to see a bit more off of it. We'll see if Wild Inferno groups up for the push here soon.
Definitely would have been very, very hard to deal with if you're Wild Inferno. Fire Oni waves pushing on your lanes without Phoenixes while Fire Giant is respawning. Not a position you want to be in at all. I think a very, very nice, comforting, just little bit of breathing room that Wild Inferno just granted themselves there. Now they're going to be pushing an objective. When did Oathkeepers Phoenix drop? I didn't notice that.
That was the split push from LDGFish on the Daji. That's why HeavyWarcrier backed after the Fire Giant, because they were trying to make sure Fish wasn't still around. And that's so far been the biggest thing Wild Inferno's done. The defenses were obviously huge, kept them from losing the game, but that split push is what's really made things possible for them.
Right, I can't believe that one slipped under my radar, but now Warcrier's just back to doing Warcrier things, walking at you, casting his abilities, pressing his buttons, and there's just not much you can do about it. Unfortunately, now Fire Giant just spawning in. Ooh, that's a clean. I never really noticed that Fire Giant spawning animation. Very, very
Yeah,
clean.
this is the time to check out those animations and peep them. The Fire Giant one's really good. I really like when it's spawning into the map around 10 minutes. If you look off to the side
Oh
of
yeah,
Soul
that is
Lane,
absolutely insane.
that one's pretty heat. Split push from LDGFish in solo lane, but Oathkeepers spotted this one out very early.
Ooh.
Fish does blink past HeavyWarcrier, but HeavyWarcrier has a blink of his
no.
own. Perspective Duck deletes him. Akamaru finds his own kill onto the Hades, and Oathkeepers wants more. They've only got 3 members to contest with now. There's the Frenzy Pop as well, and Oathkeepers is saying go, 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 and Wild Inferno saying wait, that's not our thing. Oathkeepers is chasing with the house. HeavyWarcrier leading the charge as we've seen all game. Only one Phoenix up. Will they commit to it, or will they back up for Fire Giant again? It looks like they're going to back up for Fire Giant again.
Yeah, some of the health bars not quite in a position where you want to be sieging against a Merlin. Fire Giant still up. They have the numbers advantage. And yeah, they're just playing it safe as possible. Despite having 16 kills on Wild Inferno, it still seems that they have possibilities. And I mean, man, if this Fire Giant still happens, okay.
Oathkeepers gets the Fire Giant. Wild Inferno not able to get a seal on that one. So we'll see if buying their time will pay off for Oathkeepers, or if the 5v5 will prove to have been a mistake. Nishi gets knocked up and pulled back, and Perspective Duck has erased the Nox off the map, so no more support for Wild Inferno on this defense. Right Phoenix gonna fall. Mid and left Phoenix both have respawned, but they're so low on the respawn. Just a couple basics from Jingwei ought to do the trick, and that's exactly what Oathkeepers is gonna do. Ring around the rosy, the Phoenix all fall down, and now Oathkeepers has nothing in front of them but the Titan and 4 members. They're going to push in the throne room with fire minion waves. Terra with the ultimate will be enough for Oathkeepers to secure the Titan, because that's what happens at 36 minutes. That's game 1. We'll be right back on the desk to break it down for you.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it.
Game number 1 is concluded, and Oathkeepers has gotten the better of Wild Inferno. It was definitely a case of pace, but Wild Inferno, in the fights they chose to take, they were able to make a huge difference. Going into game 2, for me, my number 1 thing is simple. On Wild Inferno, you gotta fight. But Cosmic, take me through what you saw in game number 1.
I saw a draft by Wild Inferno that by itself wasn't bad, but they just were not playing it very well. It seemed like LDG actually got some decent pulls in mid to early game. That just had absolutely zero follow-up. I felt like a Nishi, there just wasn't much of a reason to pick Nox. Some of the combos were just not really on point. Not really what you want to be seeing. I mean, if you're playing Nox, you just gotta be hitting those combos. That's why you're playing Nox. That's what makes him a decent support. I mean, the ultimates were on point, don't get me wrong there, but I think a different pick might do Nishi a little bit stronger there. Physics was actually doing pretty good despite not looking too hot in the KD department. Felt like one of the more impactful players on the Wild Inferno team, but yeah, it just seemed like they picked a draft for a certain reason, and they just didn't really utilize that reason.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect breakdown of what we saw. And, I will give a lot of credit because we teased him so much throughout the season. But HeavyWarcrier with the 10 wards. Way to go, Croc. That's gigantic there. I want to see 11 in game 2 or back to flaming you. But with that, that's all we've got for game number 1. We'll be right back with game number 2 between Oathkeepers and Wild Inferno.
Pull another of your cigarettes out. Fuck, I always feel so burned out. I never smoked before I met you. Now I chain smoke the way I like to kiss you. Cause I know you're with them while I'm here, staring at a red light. Stopped, windows down, cursing at the street signs. When every road could lead me back to the memories that we once had, yeah. Tell me how this so easily falls apart. Cause damn, you still fucking have my heart. And all I have is another of your cigarettes lit, but not a single fuck left to give. I could explode, I feel like gasoline when you're mad at me. Lit a match in the wind, so I'm asking please. I try to cope, go through the motions, no, I got a noose around my throat. Fuck, I love you, but I know that I should let you go. Situations got me pressed and I'm on overload. I'm on overload, so another of your cigarettes out. Fuck, I always feel so burned out. I never smoked before I met you. Now I chain smoke the way I like to kiss you. Cause I know you're with them while I'm here, staring at a red light. Stopped, windows down, cursing at the street signs. When every road could lead me back to the memories that we once had, yeah. Tell me how this so easily falls apart. Cause damn, you still fucking have my heart. Tell me how this so easily falls apart. Cause damn, you still fucking have my heart. And all I have is another of your cigarettes lit. I don't wanna feel as cold as the winter. Let me sink into your bedroom floor. Lovely how lonely we are together. Crazy.
Hello, it's time for game number 2, and as you can see, we've got ourselves a remake here. So we will go through quickly what we see and then go right into game. The first thing for me, and Cosmic, I'll let you take most of it, but Cosmic in game has selected the Ymir.
See, that's Ymir has just fallen off just a little bit in value when it comes to picks and bans. When like the end of the season 9, I had practically 100% rate of presence in the SPL, and even here in the STL was extremely well prioritized. But obviously, CosmicVibez just doesn't care about any of that. Just a really strong Ymir, has some incredible walls sometimes. But honestly, the thing that stood out to me the most was HeavyWarcrier allowed back on this Hercules, despite an incredible performance in game number 1. I guess they didn't decide to put any respect on that. I'd imagine that they did put a little bit of respect on the Hebos. We don't see Akamaru running that one back instead, picking up the Hunbat's still a very, very strong jungle option. On the other side, I'm glad to see Nishi on just a little bit different pick, maybe one that suits their play style just a little bit better.
And a solo
Athena,
Beck.
hard to. Oh, gross. I hate that.
A solo Beck versus
I hate that.
a Hercules. Actually, not on paper, pretty decent combination.
I guess they're just trying to basically make HeavyWarcrier bored out of his mind before he starts having an impact to just sort of lower his mental a little bit.
Deteriorate the mental, yeah.
Yeah, just
I like the Wheelix into the Hoonbots as a response pick as well.
Yeah, very, very solid option there. Just, I mean, not a ton of knockups on the side, but I mean, you don't really need it on a Wheelix. It's you know, it's the thing people go like to mention the most. But I mean, if you're a Wheelix, you have your own knockups, and there are some. I mean, you could do it off a Sobek Pluck, Merlin too, if you're good enough. It's not a huge knockup, so you need to have some timing there. But which draft do I prefer? I don't know. I don't really like solo back, to be honest. So I think I'm gonna go with Oathkeepers draft here.
All right, you heard Cosmic's thoughts. You heard a bit of mine. So with that, let's not wait any longer. Let's go right into game number 2. We'll be right back in Smite Draft League.
I don't wanna feel as cold as the winter. Let me sink into your bedroom floor. Lovely how lonely we are together. Crazy how I hold on for a little more. Drive into the night. I miss you sleeping. Where did you go? As soft as you're breathing. You left me alone, and I miss the late nights. So where did you go? 'Cause you were my safe ride. Now I drive alone. Don't hit like they used to. Never as high as I was when I'm with you. So I drink to cope, it's an issue, okay. New Year's Day, so now it's a new me. Tell me why I'm so fucking lonely. I don't know why you won't love me the same. Drive into the night. I miss you sleeping. Where did you go? As soft as you're breathing. You left me alone, and I miss the late nights. So where did you go? 'Cause you were my safe ride. Now I drive alone. I miss you sleeping. As soft as you're breathing. You left me alone. I miss the late nights. 'Cause you were my safe ride.
Hello and welcome back. Oathkeepers v Wild Inferno. Game number 2 is on tap. I'm Anthony Malum. He's Cosmic Warrior. Let's do it.
Man, this time it seems like Akamaru switching the order of the speed buffs. It seems interesting. Interesting difference there. I wonder what the decision was there to make that. Who didn't pick up their buff? Is Red Wings? Wait. Oh, it was the speed buff. I'm smoking. Anyway. I thought they like left one of their buffs. Anyway, okay. Protective Duck getting owned. So forced. Great
Very
body blocks.
low. Yeah, wow. Cosmic, you're on it with the body blocks. Now we got to jump in from Akamaru on Nishi. Doesn't find much damage, but was enough to keep Perspective Duck safe. LDGFish is on the way, but heading over there a bit slow and getting pinged out by Slim, so we'll not get there with any takings.
Yes, interesting. Like, it seems like around the 1 to 2 minute mark, just so common to see a 3v3 in the left side as both junglers like to come over. Now they're trying to get onto CosmicVibez here. Quite a bit of damage forwarded from that, but not too much of a threat here. Wow. HeavyWarcrier actually putting the pain onto Sobek, and it's kind of one that seems like it's just not like Sobek isn't really dying, which is why it's kind of boring. I guess super early on there is a little bit of a chance for it, but I mean, he was fairly safe. He went beads as well, so yeah.
looks like, yeah, it looks like HeavyWarcrier is in the same wavelength as you, but you're not playing solo back for the action in solo lane. You're playing solo back for what it could bring to your team, I suppose. So we'll see how that works out late. This dual lane matchup is an interesting one to me. We saw last game that Perspective Duck on Jingwei was doing crazy damage towards the end, but Jones was a bit more quiet than you'd like to see, especially from Jones. We're used to seeing Jones go crazy. We'll see if that changes here. Dual lane fight now leading advantage Wild Inferno, making me eat my words. Duck is one basic away, and Jones has that basic in hand. First blood goes to Wild Inferno.
ThockManJones showing the power of the Cernuno, saying, "Man, I don't care if you're like Ishtar, who's like you're supposed to be okay. A little bit of a little bit of cheeky jump taunts, bit of emoting going on over here. A little funny biz on the right side. I'm trying to talk about ThockManJones, Thockmanning all over. Perspective Duck, great play there. Also just showing the kill potential that is afforded by Athena. I really like again, I like the change that Nishi decided to make. Pick wise. ThockManJones level up a Perspective Duck, and they're putting the pressure right back on.
The wall separates Jones,
Yeah.
and Nishi took some poke for it, but it's nothing quite to write home about yet. And while I do think that this duo lane will be important late, I think early on it's just going to be more of a slugfest, honestly, with how Athena and Ymir play off each other. I mean, we always talk about the old school carry matchups, the Ramas versus the Hou-Yi, the Uller versus the Freya, things like that. We never really talk about the old school support matchups, like the Ymir into the Athena.
Yeah, I mean, the Athena does have a very telegraphed dash. So, if you're playing white and you're expecting it and, your team is all grouped and that an Athena wants you to just dash in and taunt all of you, you just drop a wall on him and he bashes his face into it, and then that's that. But, there's also just, after you taunt a Ymir, he's just not really caring that much. He's just going to freeze you and anyone you're nearby. So definitely some interesting things there, man.
Hey, we saw it there.
Consistently on points with the wall.
It blocked off Jones and created time for Rakamaru to get over. Fear and Weevil should come out soon, but Fish is around the corner, so maybe they're saving it for the gank. It comes out, but doesn't find anybody, and Perspective Duck's dropping low. Now Fear and Weevil comes out after it got canceled, and Jones gets a kill onto Perspective Duck. Wild Inferno is very low, but they've got the advantage in this fight. Two-man freeze from CosmicVibez will get him and his jungler away. But Wild Inferno certainly got the better of Oathkeepers in that fight.
ThockManJones just not backing down at any point, finishing that kill off with the dash, even after getting hit by that Fear No Evil, as well as the little root damage that Ishtar does. Just great understanding that. I mean, okay, they dropped the ults. What else are they going to really do now? What else am I really going to be afraid of, even if my health bar is a little low? Dashing in to secure that kill, and what was pretty like an engagement that I felt like could have been a lot deadlier. Only ends up with one kill being dropped now. One Inferno up 2-0, a little bit different from what we saw in game number 1. I believe they're already at about half the kills that they had at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, and Wild Inferno is a team that I said it, but I like Wild Inferno, and when they do put team fights together, the fights tend to be strong for them. Wow, Perspective Duck getting bullied out with damage from Jones there. Gonna have to play it safe, but no threat from a gank currently because we got the fighting over the solo lane. Matter of fact, we've got a 4v3 in the solo lane, but neither team really wants the fight, so they're both gonna back away. But that did cost Defender of Olympus for Nishi.
Yeah, very key ultimate there that they're getting off now. You don't have to worry about trying to take a 1v1 that would quickly turn into 2v1, not to mention the additional protections afforded by Defender of Olympus. And now we're just at a stage which is not happening too much. None of the team really in a position to go for like a Gold Fury, even a Pyromancer. So both teams just trying to clear out their waves, go whatever jungle camps they have, and it's just yeah.
All right, that's a solo kill for HeavyWarcrier. See you later, Solo Beck.
All right, yeah, I'm showing him exactly what he thinks of his solo Beck, saying, "Man, you didn't want me to have fun. I'm gonna have fun anyway. You wanted to pick an unkillable character. Guess what? Get soloed." Very well played by Warcry again. I mentioned I didn't put any respect on his Hercules. They let it through, and they're paying the price for it.
And that is the first kill on the board for Oathkeepers, so they needed that, and now they're back in the game. Matter of fact, they're actually up by 200 gold, which is, it's not significant, but with how the first few minutes felt, it is basically back to even Stevens for both teams now.
Yeah, I mean, Protective Duck is 2 levels down on ThockManJones. Not the position you want to be in if you're an 80.
Yeah, those 2 kills are doing a lot.
Certainly are. They're just in some very key moments, letting him miss out on some key farm. And not to mention just the presence that's been over in the left side whenever Akamara tried to come through with the gank. Just been answered back extremely well in ways that just puts Water Inferno ahead in a lane where it can actually be very important.
Jones, again, trying to put the pressure on the Prospective Ducks. Some good damage comes out. There's the Bramble and the Wild Hunt. Blades of Retribution for some space, and the man is gone for Jones. So Prospective Duck will be away. A late shard pop to ensure safety after the gank from LDGFish. But Prospective Duck lives to see another day in the pond.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of all you can ask for at this stage when you're, so far down, playing against an aggressive Cernunos like that. Just being able to live, force out some of his ultimates, and not to mention with LGG not far behind him, could have ended up a lot worse for Perspective.
And could end bad for Physics, but Excavate going to go a little bit wide left, and Physics will be plenty safe for now on that solo back. HeavyWarcrier making the most out of the boring lane, as Cosmic put it.
Yeah, doing a surprisingly higher amount of kill potential than I would really expect against a Sobek, because I mean, it's just kind of that's why people call it a boring lane, is because Sobek just doesn't really ever die, but he's very close. He had to use that beast in last engagement. He very, very high chance that he dies if Warcry doesn't shoot that shot a little bit left here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not too much you expect from a solo lane Sobek.
A purple buff invade gone wrong currently for Nishi. Defender of Olympus trying to go to Jones, but Jones was not very far away. Didn't matter anyway. Prospective Duck kills Nishi. And now it's 2-2, and Oathkeepers looking to feel a little crazy after that fight. They're going to pull the Gold Fury. HeavyWarcrier and Slim split. We've got 5 over here. They do have a ward on top of them, so Wild Inferno is aware of what's going on. They have the health bar, but can they get in time? They will not. Oathkeepers gets the Gold Fury pre-10 minutes, and Wild Inferno just, quite frankly, did not have an answer there.
Certainly didn't, came just a tidbit late. Red Wings definitely tried to go for that steal. Oh, Protective Duck now. Ooh, the turnaround, though.
The Blades that jolts off the mark. The Wild Hunt to get away, and Jones going to be safe, but barely.
Man, he took so much damage from that ult, and that was a big thing in the past fights, was that the ult just not quite connecting very many of those blades, having to use it for the CC immunity, preventing it from dashing for the cripple when you send them out. But finally, in a fight where you're able to land a large number of them, just ends up going in your favor. Definitely a big mental boost for perspective, just knowing that you still got some fight in you, and you're not just going to be bullied around the entire laning phase. The Gold Fury was a little ambitious. They didn't have Fear No Evil, and they didn't have Ymir ult either, which is just really, really strong early game objective secures. Obviously, they do end up securing it without much effort. They don't lose anything for it. Obviously, it ends in that little 1v1, but that's all it was. In 1v1, no one died. In fact, ended fairly well for Oathkeepers.
Something Oathkeepers is doing consistently so far this game we've seen is they're rotating as a group for the buff invades. So, I mean, they're three-way splitting the invades, but they're securing the invades and taking the farm away from Wild Inferno. So I actually really like that approach.
And it seems like Warcrier just not afraid to teleport in when they want to go for the Gold Fear. I think that was the call there. I think that was a call last time when I mentioned I'm never walking over there. But, you know, with TP up, obviously, considerably more viable of an option. And just that's the only time you're really willing to sacrifice, you know, 1, 2, 3 waves, depending on how long the engagement goes for, is when you're going for something in English, when you're going for an objective like the Gold Fear. Ends up being worth it. Man, that Merlin damage is crazy, actually.
Oathkeeper secures themselves a Pyromancer thanks to the Excavate from HeavyWarcrier. We also, in that time, saw Perspective Duck lose out on the purple buff. But 12 minutes in, 2-2. Cosmic, what do you think of these charts?
See, a fairly significant gold lead for Oathkeepers. It doesn't seem like they've been winning for that long. Obviously, they do end up getting that Gold Fury, which is obviously a big factor in what's happening. But, you know, we're still seeing a bit of a deficit in the dual lane here. Perspective Duck consistently having those minions go under his tower, losing a little bit of gold in that department, down a level. So it's interesting to see how Oathkeeper's still able to maintain pretty significant lead. Obviously, we see just about the opposite picture here in the solo lane. Warcrier, a level above. Physics, LDG, looking for a gank. He wants to go for it. You know, hasn't been as active as you really expect on a Wheelix to be in the early game. Excels in it, as a matter of fact. So maybe just trying to make up on a little bit of lost time. But I don't think Warcrier is ever the target in that situation.
No, and maybe they're trying to just give a reaction to what you were talking about in game number 1 and keep HeavyWarcrier out of the fight to try to avoid some of the issues they had, but it might be a little too late to do that already, as going that Golden Blade, getting that clear online, already getting prophetic stacks versus just some tablet stacks and a tier 2 breastplate for the Sobek, just not comparable over the Soul Lane. Oathkeepers trying to continue the map control, showing a presence of 4 over by the Oni Fury.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Akamaru's backing.
Yeah,
maybe.
I kind of expected more out of the presence that was on the map, and maybe Wild Inferno did too. And they know they've backed because of their deep wards, and now Wild Inferno might be able to sneak an Oni Fury away. Perspective Duck and Slim are both on the way. The house comes out, and Wild Inferno drops the Oni Fury for Slim. Should be an easy pickup for Wild Inferno, but they took a lot of poke damage in the process.
They did, and now the entire team, rest of the team is here for this Oni Fury. Wild Inferno going to be not quite as easy. I mean, they had an option. I think they might have committed just a little too much trying to kill Slim. Obviously, they do end up killing it, but I feel like they could have just zoned him out, secured that Oni Fury, instead of just full committing onto killing him in that house form. Not quite so easy. So now we're here for an interesting fight. Slim the Rebel already respawning.
And Defender of Olympus has already been used. That was a beads from Physics. HeavyWarcrier gets pulled back, and he's in deep on the Oni Fury. Neither team is full committed to the Oni Fury, but we're still dancing around. I guess they both want to make the most of the solo lane rotations. That's just now kind of breaking the party around the Fury. Kind of interesting from both teams. A bit awkward to dance around there, and you don't want to waste the rotation from your solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, both solo laners have already spent a pretty significant amount of time. Lots of XP loss in that department. HeavyWarcrier not happy with how that has been going. Just walking straight at them, but not much they can do early on. Tower leaving them pretty safe. Now, Oathkeepers are deep in their jungle, though. Red Wings backs.
They do pull in Nishi. Nishi's taking some good poke, and the wall comes out from CosmicVibez. And that wall was anything but good vibes for Nishi, and he falls down to Akamaru. Maybe Oathkeepers has their opening for the Oni Fury that they've waited oh so long to secure. Wild Inferno will know they're doing it because of their wards, so we'll see how they choose to play it. Physics waiting in the pile of gold to get on that Oni Fury. Blinks through. Can he get the steal? Oathkeepers gets the Oni Fury despite Physics' best attempt. HeavyWarcrier is alone with Jones. He gets a gigantic heal off the 1v1 with the ADC. So Oathkeepers sitting pretty and finally getting the Oni Fury after they spent about 6 minutes fighting for it. With a massive pickup there for Oathkeepers, they may look to continue the map pressure around. And if I'm Wild Inferno at this rate, I'm really starting to wrap my brain around, okay, what can we do to throw off Oathkeepers' pace? All right, as we see Oathkeepers resetting in the jungle. Another thing worth pointing out is that we saw a lot of relics get burnt in that last engagement, and not a lot gained for Wild Inferno. And without those relics on the side of Wild Inferno, if we do see a dance around this Pyromancer, it could be dangerous, and it could be dangerous fast.
Certainly could be. I mean, yeah, that was just Oathkeepers just extending that presence that they had. Picked off Nishi there very cleanly. Now, looking over the right side, the only thing left up is the Pyromancer and Fire Giant. You know, if they want to go for the Pyromancer and they try to step up to it, might end badly for Wild Inferno. And if it does, it's going to lead to a Fire Giant, which is exactly what we saw in game number 1. Not a full grouping quite yet. Both ADCs still on the left side, as well as the solo laners still in their lane. So it's just a 3v3 now. So not too much commitment by either team.
Yeah, and maybe that's for the best, because after you danced around so long for the Oni Fury, the last thing you want to do is starve of more farm just to fight over Pyro. HeavyWarcrier has secured the tower in solo, and Warcrier is just really putting it on to Physics right now. CosmicVibez was tiptoeing over as well, so it's enough for Solo back to dash on out of there.
And finally, we see Perspective just leveling out with ThockMan, doing level 16. Ooh, Nishi in a bad position here.
Bad enough for Nishi to see the grayscale. Akamaru gets the credit. Perspective Duck dropped very low in the 1v1 with Jones. Pyromancer getting pulled by Oathkeepers, so will be a victory on the right side. Perspective Duck gets away on the left as well, so Oathkeepers keep it clean across the map. Wild Inferno again with no response.
Yeah, seems like this Ymir is just causing a lot of trouble. Just no real way to deal with that wall, that shell, not upgraded to the point of a Phantom Shell, even if it does. Phantom Shell has a considerably longer cooldown than a Ymir wall, to say the least. I mean, Wild Inferno had a bit of a start in the beginning, but I don't think Wheelix, 0-0, 2 assists, but just not really what you want out of a Wheelix. You need to get active early on. We saw a little bit in the duo lane, but not much anywhere else. It's just unfortunate when you're picking a god like a Wheelix and not really doing a Wheelix things. And it's kind of felt like that has been the story for LDG, playing Daji and pulling people in, but not really being able to kill them. And now, as I had mentioned, just playing a Wheelix and not finding any opportunities to get picks in the early game.
Yeah, that's not where you want to see your Wheelix damage at. That is what you want to see for Wild Inferno, as Slim the Rebel gets picked off by Nishi. Now we see Wild Inferno trying to keep up the pressure. They head over to HeavyWarcrier. HeavyWarcrier is very tanky and is doing numbers. Defender of Olympus is required here. There's the pluck, but the pluck disrupted the taunt. The knock-up, the lurking waters, everything is getting dropped in HeavyWarcrier. So Oathkeepers will make their way to the Primal Fury. Fish does get the credit for the kill on HeavyWarcrier. Oathkeepers just now arriving at the Primal Fury. And Wild Inferno going to back, so we'll see if Oathkeepers can beat the race against time to drop the Fury.
Yeah, it was a nice answer back there by Wild Inferno, getting 2 picks onto some pretty high priority targets. Unfortunately, seems like they end up giving up an Oni Fury, or not an Oni Fury, a Primal Fury. So, solid answer back by Oathkeepers, so they answer back by Wild Inferno. Just Oathkeepers just getting just playing very, very well, understanding. Oh, they committed Defender of Olympus. There's 3 people in right lane. Let's just group up and do Primal Fear. It's going to be uncontested. It's going to be free. And I'm sure Wild Inferno's not too upset about being able to get 2 picks on the high value targets, but Pyromancer was down. They were all committed in the right lane. There's just not much they can do with those picks, which, I mean, picks are great in and of themselves, but what really wins you games is being able to get objectives off those picks.
Blink in from Physics as HeavyWarcrier goes for the initiation. Beads were down on Slim, the Rebel. Everyone's here for this fight except Perspective Duck. So we'll see if Oathkeepers can take the 4v5. So far, they've done decent damage, but they lost 2 ultimates in the process. Wild Inferno with just Defender of Olympus down and Wild Hunt, but Wild Hunt is almost back out. Defender of Olympus now back up. So Wild Inferno gets the better of the small engagement, but Oathkeepers, as we've seen, will look to keep the pressure on.
And pressure on they will, cranking up the gas deep into the jungles of Wild Inferno. They find good damage onto Physics. Redwing, oh my, that is just so much damage coming out from Slim the Rebel there. The CC is good by HeavyWarcrier, and there's a TKO by Physics. Not really much leading from it. Perhaps they're hoping to find a little bit more in that jungle there, but now as it comes down to both teams grouping up for this Fire Giant, really what they want. They weren't really able to get any wards down, which is unfortunate. Which would have been really key in this upcoming Fire Giant fight, but they're, still in a great position here to sort of walk up, bring the fight to them if they have to, or just, like we tend to see these sort of Fire Giant dances where both teams are trying to engage, but no, they're not having any of that. They're just getting right in there.
Getting right in and doing some good damage to the Athena so far. But that was just about all they got. Wild Inferno is rushing to the Pyromancer. They do run into HeavyWarcrier, who gets plucked into the pole, into the knockup, into the fire, into the death. See you later, HeavyWarcrier. Jones now on a killing spree. Oathkeepers did secure the Pyromancer. Now you got 2 bombs in Akamaru's pockets, and the monkey's pockets are weighing him down. Will the weight down on the monkey's pockets keep them from contesting this fight, as Wild Inferno, shockingly, is setting up around Fire Giant?
Yeah, I mean, they have the numbers advantage. Warcrier was a very, very key factor into Oathkeeper's team fight, forcing the fight here. Not the worst thing. Good pluck on the Cosmic.
And now the fight's going to break out. The Fear and Evil finds everybody. CosmicVibez dropping low, but Perspective Duck finds a kill in the Nishi. And Oathkeepers wants more. Physics was lurking, but Physics is going to fall to double kill for Perspective Duck. Triple kill for Perspective Duck. And they're lined up for the blades. It's a pentakill for Perspective Duck. Wild Inferno's perspective is up in flames. And Oathkeepers has nothing on their mind but the Fire Giants.
That pentakill was out of nowhere. I mean, the fight was, as I said, it was good for for Wild Inferno. They had the numbers advantage. They started off with the pluck of Cosmic, just not deterred, just went down his ultimate, let his team get in. A beautiful ultimate by Akamaru, just setting up all the kills for Perspective. And LDG tried to go back in, finish off the kill. But, I mean, Perspective Duck was just there. He is level 20 now, now out-leveling ThockManJones. I mean, a pentakill is going to do that. And then the absolutely beautiful, potentially one of the best plays I've seen involving an Ishtar ult, Blades of Retribution, seeking the retribution that Perspective Duck deserved, securing him the pentakill here, only 25 minutes in week number 5 of the Smite Draft League. What an incredible play.
Thank you for giving me plenty of time to recover. I think you knew I needed it. But yet, completely out of nowhere, completely caught us both off guard. But when the smoke clears and Oathkeeper steps over the ashes, what becomes very clear is Wild Inferno has taken a drastic step backwards after losing that fight and giving up the pentakill. Now Oathkeepers is in such a good position going forward. Wild Inferno has been on the delivering end of a game-changing penta, and now on the receiving end, can Wild Inferno find a way to fight back from it?
I mean, we've seen them be able to have some decent defenses. In game one, I mean, they weren't able to hold on that long, so we're gonna need to see some miracles. It looks like they're opting to actually defend this tier 2, which I think is interesting. Most teams generally, I think the idea is to just drop the tier 1, decide to defend the Phoenix. LDGFish hanging around the corner there is spotted out. Warcry going in to zone them away, and the defense is actually going fairly well on the Blink Plus.
Wow, the 3 pull-in there from Merlin was a good setup for Wild Inferno, but can they find the damage off of it? So far, they're only finding it on a HeavyWarcrier, who's dropping low, but he wants physics. Excuse me, he wants Red Wings, and Red Wings already used the Aegis, so the basic attack cleans it up for HeavyWarcrier. Thank you for the attack speed buff, high-res. Fish finds his own kill. Perspective Duck getting another for the tally, make it 7 for the Ishtar. Now down 2 members, Oathkeepers taking it easy as Wild Inferno kind of defends tier 2. They will lose it because of ADC things, but Oathkeepers now loses the ability to win off of this potential, or will they? Nishi drops in quickly to Perspective Duck. Now just 2 members remain for Wild Inferno, and Oathkeepers is still knocking on the door of the Phoenix.
Still 20 seconds on these respawn timers. Looks like they're not going to opt to go for the Phoenix. Considerable amount of time until the next wave would have hit there. A lot of members of Wild Inferno would have been respawning there instead, taking the... That was really can't. Man, ThockManJones taking a lot of damage. Is House going to finish him off? It is! Oh.
Dead is the Jones. Everybody loves a good house. Well, I guess not Wild Inferno. Now the towers are cleared. We're back to what we talked about in game number 1 with Oathkeepers cleaning up all the towers, setting themselves up to prepare for the next fire giant, grab another bomb. They're going to have 3 bombs in pocket at that point. And it's going to be plain and simple. It's going to be a borderline insurmountable task for Wild Inferno. Oh no, nobody picked up the bomb. Who can pick up? He doesn't have.
Akamaru's going to get it.
Akamaru got it. Look at that. Bombs. I was going to get mad.
Back to the old 2 bombs in the pockets of the monkey. Hopefully, he'll still be able to jump just as high. But now, Fire Giant respawning yet again. Oathkeepers in a very solid position here. Wild Inferno just forced to spread out, trying to deal with some of these waves pushing in on their Phoenixes. And if they're not careful, Oathkeepers can just start pulling this Fire Giant and get a considerable amount of waves before they come in. Okay, they decide to finally drop in on HeavyWarcrier here. Niche drops half before he's able to ult out.
Defender of Olympus is now down, which we've said a lot, and that's really been a problem for Wild Inferno. HeavyWarcrier gets knocked up and pulled in, but Akamaru on the defense with the gorgeous Fear No Evil. And look at the damage falling. Divine for Perspective Duck. Akamaru gets credit for another. Oathkeepers now up 5v3, and they've got nothing on the mind but Fire Giant once again playing it as wise as they possibly can.
Certainly, it's going to be a tough task for Wild Inferno here. From the Rebel, actually, taking health in zoning. HeavyWarcrier came back in very healthy now. What the physics?
Oh, he almost did it again, but Oathkeepers gets the Fire Giant. Physics is pesky on those objective steals. And Physics may be distracting 3, but we've got 2 chasing Jones and Red Wings. And look at HeavyWarcrier man-moding it at the Phoenix. Finally has to walk away. But thanks to the healing meta, we'll be plenty okay.
I mean, yeah, I think Oathkeepers were a little bit too concerned with the Sobek over here Physics, leading them on a bit of a wild goose chase there. That being said, they decided to take the opportunity, get this Oni Fury. Definitely going to be a big threat that Wild Inferno will be having to deal with. The only way it's pushing in will help their siege. Looks like Akamaru actually dropped both bombs in that fight. You know, not the worst I would say to drop one. You know, wanting to get some wards or something. But I mean, those bombs just do so much damage to Phoenix. that I think it's really best to be saving them for the Phoenix Siege, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they have had a surplus, which is worth taking into consideration. But I think what we've seen Oathkeepers, the only real hitch in Oathkeepers gameplay in 2 games now has been they're really getting stalled out at these Phoenixes. Their team fights have been impressive. Their macro play and their control of the map is immaculate, but they really get stalled out at these Phoenixes. And credit where credit's due, a lot of that is due to Wild Inferno mounting really good defense. I mean, if you're going to be a passive team, defense has to be on the forefront of the strategy, but Oathkeepers just cannot break through. We'll see if they can change the narrative I placed in front of us, but not looking good right at the start. CosmicVibez taking some poke, and Oathkeepers will back up and group outside the Phoenix yet again.
These bombs, this bomb. I'm gonna help them on this here, but now, yeah, Oni waves gonna be pushing into these Phoenixes. Not only here helping them on this siege, but on right siege as well. Someone's gonna have to step over and defend that, or that Phoenix is gonna take lots of damage with absolutely no support.
They're stepping in. HeavyWarcrier gets taunted in. Surely they go in behind HeavyWarcrier now that the pressure is on. But no, they will not. And now HeavyWarcrier is poked out. Give him 35 seconds. He'll be full health if even that is required. We'll see if Wild Inferno can instead take advantage of the poke that they've leashed out. But does not seem that way. Akamaru pushes a wave in the mid. Oathkeepers still looking for the opening. The problem with these Phoenix Sieges is it gives a lot of time for plays like that to happen. And there's a knockback into the pull in on CosmicVibez. And he's fallen down to ThockManJones. What else can Wild Inferno do in the defense? And what can Oathkeepers look to do to keep pushing? They're now down their support, but they've got a HeavyWarcrier, and damage is coming out, and damage has been good so far. The shotgun spreads are putting in work, and that's 3 kills for Oathkeepers, 1 to each member of the damage crew, and Oathkeeper is going to turn towards the mid lane.
Man, those health bars were just dropping so low on the side of Wild Inferno. Slim the Rebel was just absolutely chucking out bombs left and right. Putting out tons of damage, and he's letting Perspective Duck shoot him from so far away in any direction, exactly like an Ishtar does. And I mean, despite what initially was a really good defense, unfortunately turned into many members of Wild Inferno dying, including that left side Phoenix. And with this Fire Giant coming back up, it might be one more Oathkeepers take before they finish the deal. Or maybe Wild Inferno step up, steal it away with Enhanced Fire Giant. Might just turn the game around.
Yeah, that's kind of what's been great for Wild Inferno. I mean, despite the gold lead, we do know that this season is tailored around trying to keep you in the game, and Wild Inferno has the opportunity in front of them. You contest this Fire Giant, you steal it, you kill them, you win the game, but can they do it is the question. Fire Giant's already down very low, and they will not get in this time. Oathkeepers gets the Fire Giant, and they want blood after it. They go in, and Perspective Duck's now immortal and finds a kill onto Nishi. Blades of Retribution, it's a double kill for Perspective Duck, this time onto the Merlin. And Oathkeepers will look to run it far. This time, the advantage cannot be denied. They also have the EFG. Don't even gotta wait for the minions if you don't feel like it. And they do not. CosmicVibez steps in, and goodbye to the right side Phoenix. Oathkeepers ready to pounce, and the Titan's already taken to poke, and now they're on the Titan. Oathkeepers looking to make the most of the pentakill, and they're going to do it, and they're going to do it quickly. Take as many kills as you like, but you cannot stop the Perspective of the Duck, who was godlike at the end. This set goes to Oathkeepers. We'll be right back on the desk.
I don't wanna feel as cold as the winter. Let me sink into your bedroom floor.
Hello, and another Penta involving Wild Inferno, but unfortunately for Wild Inferno, this one has cost them a set, and Oathkeepers takes it 2-0. Cosmic, aside from the obvious, what did you see? Break down game number 2 for me.
See, it's interesting. That game was shorter one. It took them less long Oathkeepers less long to win that one compared to game number 1, despite it seemingly a lot more even. In fact, in the favor of Wild Inferno during some of the beginning of the game. I guess they just had a little bit of less struggles with sieging, Perspective Duck just being a little bit further ahead, doing a bit more damage to that Phoenix's, making it a little bit easier for them in that department. I mean, what is there else to say about Perspective Duck? 13-2, pentakill on a fire giant fight. I mean, the numbers, the damage, everything just speaks for itself.
It does indeed. From my perspective, that was a pretty dominant game for Oathkeepers. And for Wild Inferno, we talked a lot and we've teased a lot about the slow pace of play, but I will say in game 2, they definitely picked it up, and they definitely still lacked in some initiative, but the difference was there. And I think as they look back on this game, both from the cast and then their internal VOD reviews and such, I think if Wild Inferno can just really light a fire under themselves and play to the namesake, I think we could see a very dominant team as we get close to playoffs. But the problem is, as we saw, that play style can be beat by hyper aggression, and this was one of the more aggressive teams in Immortal. So a hill to climb for Wild Inferno. But aside from that, your final thoughts, Cosmic?
So there's one specific stat on one specific player that I'm looking at here. I think you have just spotted it. 0 wards coming out from the Warcrier. He had
Damn
10
it.
last game. You asked for 11. He said, "No, thank you, Anthony. I will play my own game. I'll just use my game sense, and I'll just walk all over the opponents anyway." That's my final thought.
we'll lock that one in. And HeavyWarcrier, I will be awaiting you in the tickets. But with that is all we have for you today in the Immortal division, and that is all we've got for week 5 from them. Week 6 is around the corner. A reminder, your final one for you Immortal viewers, that is the last week of casting, will be week number 6. Week 7, we got some makeup games, and then it's playoff time. So start getting those predictions in, start hyping up your pals, and make sure you are following both the YouTube for Smite Draft League and the Twitch as we get closer and closer to finals. And we will see you next time on the Smite Draft League. I've been Anthony Malum. Cosmic Warrior joined me, and Nooblet was the observer. We'll see you.